Oh, wow. Great. All right. Well, let's get started. So we're on recording here.
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay. So we'll start with the transportation meeting for the 26th of May. If we can do a roll call.
Absolutely. We have Committee Member Siebel.
Here.
Committee Member Michelle.
Present.
Committee Member Jones.
Here.
Committee Chair Lugers.
Here.
And Committee Member Owen is currently running.
Say here.
Here. There we go. All present and accounted for.
All right, great. First item of business is, do we have any public comments on items that are not on the agenda? Anybody online? Oh, nobody online.
The chairs over here, please.
Okay, then the first item on is a presentation by the San Mateo County Transportation Authority.
Hello, good evening. Sue Ellen Atkinson, Manager of Planning and Fund Management at the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. I'm here to present an update on our 101 Corridor Connect program. So you may recall we were here earlier in the planning process for one of our 101 Corridor Connect plans. So I'm really glad to be here after adoption of all of them to give you an update. Next slide. All right, so we'll do a quick refresher on the 101 Corridor Connect planning documents, talk through the local priority project coming out of that planning effort, and then our update on our new mini grant program. Next slide. Just another refresher for those of you who are not as familiar with SMCTA. We manage the funding from the voter-approved local sales tax measures that are collected for transportation improvements in San Mateo County. So those are Measure A and Measure W. And with those funds, we plan, fund, and deliver transportation projects throughout San Mateo County. In some cases by funding projects directly through our cities with formulaic funding, and in other cases through competitive programs that we offer. And more recently through planning efforts that we've been working on countywide, and then our technical assistance program that we offer throughout the county. Next slide. We can skip one more. All right, refresher on 101 Corridor Connect. So that is our overarching collaborative program to identify and prioritize congestion management projects within the county that can help to, like it mentioned, reduce congestion on US 101. Congestion means a lot of different things to different people. So what we wanted to do was look at all ways of getting around to identify ways to improve the transportation network, to try to make a transportation network that's safe and comfortable and accessible for people to make decisions about how they'd like to travel. And those decisions may include options that are not in their car on 101. We're working on this program with Caltrans, local cities and towns, our transit agencies, the county, and then the City and County Association of Governments, or CCAG. Next slide. The program is driven by 4 primary goals of creating a safe, connected, sustainable, and inclusive transportation network along US 101. Next slide. And as mentioned, we are now at the part of planning where we have our adopted plans and we can look at the outcomes of those planning documents. And we're really glad that we had the opportunity to identify projects within the county that are regionally significant and that are community supported. And in doing these planning efforts, we're able to leverage those projects for additional funding sources, including SMCTA funding and other state and regional funding opportunities. Next slide. And through this effort of working along the 101 within the mile radius that we were working, we had the opportunity to work with a lot of really great people throughout the county. As part of this planning effort, we developed 3 working groups, and your local staff was involved in our South County working group, along with our transit agency partners, and then other stakeholders, including Commute.org, Caltrans, of course. Up in the North County, SFO was one of our big stakeholders, for example. So we had the opportunity to really collaborate with a lot of great partners on this process. Next slide. So the first initiative under 101 Corridor Connect was the multimodal strategy. And that's what we were here in Atherton talking about within the last year, actually. It was pretty recent. Multimodal strategies were planning documents to identify and prioritize projects within a mile of US 101 that can help improve transportation options for people getting around in all sorts of ways. So that includes highway projects, but it also includes biking, walking, transit, etc. Next slide. As mentioned, we developed multimodal strategies for the entirety of 101, but we were looking within a mile of the corridor, and that's where Atherton comes into play in our South County area. But within a mile of 101 is a really big area, so we split the county into three and did three separate multimodal strategies in an iterative process. Wow, words today. So we were in the South County multimodal strategy last, which meant that we were here most recently, but also that we got to take a lot of the lessons learned in our North and Mid County strategy and apply it to South County. So now all three of these strategies have been adopted by the SMCTA board. Next slide. All of these planning efforts included quite a lot of community engagement. So we were very active throughout the 101 corridor over the last 2 years or so. We did online engagement, we did in-person engagement, we did small focus group meetings with community-based organizations. We did engagement through social media, targeted social media ads. We also did temporary signs at our high volume bus stops to get more input from people. So we're trying to get input in a lot of different ways. Next slide. Just some photographic evidence of us being out in the community. We had a lot of engagement events throughout the planning phase of each of these plans. Next slide. And these are just some photos of the focus groups that we did throughout the county for each strategies, which there, of course, there were 3. We did 4 focus groups with smaller community-based organizations. And that allowed us to have more in-depth conversations with members of the community that we don't often get to chat with in an in-depth way. Next slide. So taking all of that together, we heard from a lot of people throughout the county. Of course, this is a small segment of the number of folks throughout the county, but we felt that we were able to get a lot of different views on what congestion management meant to people, what was important to them in terms of types of projects, and what they wanted to see improved within that mile radius of 101. Next slide. So at the start of the project, we did a project inventory for each of the 3 strategies, where we looked at all of your locally adopted plans and identified every single project that had to do with transportation within a mile of 101. As you can expect, it was a huge list. Through data analysis and then through applying the feedback that we learned from the community, we were able to identify a top 20 priority projects list in each of those 3 strategies. So now we have 20 priority projects from each of those 3 strategies, so 60 in total for all of the multimodal strategies. And you can see the South County priority map all the way on the right. Next slide. And then our second planning process under 101 Corridor Connect was Active 101. And that's really focused more much more closely into 101 within a quarter mile and focused on active transportation. So ways of getting around that include walking, biking, and rolling. So using people-powered transportation. This really focused on travel along and more specifically across 101. Because if you're not driving, opportunities to get across 101 are really few and far between and don't feel that safe right now. Next slide. Again, we looked at the entire 101 corridor. We were so close into the corridor at a quarter mile radius that we did the full corridor as one. And again, we started this process by looking at all of the adopted local plans and pulling out all of the projects within a quarter mile that had to do with walking, biking, and rolling, of which, again, it was a huge list. Next slide. Again, we went out into the community and got feedback from folks on where they feel comfortable walking, biking, and rolling, and where they don't, and also where they'd like to go that they don't feel comfortable right now, to give us a sense of where improvements are necessary. We did presentations to stakeholders within that quarter mile area. So for that plan, Atherton fell outside of that area. But we also had an online activity as well that replicated what we were doing in person. So I'm sorry that we weren't in Atherton for this one, but it's a really great plan as well. Next slide. So taking all of those projects that we had identified within a quarter mile, and then all of the feedback that we heard from people about where they wanted to see improvements, we were able to create this north-south corridor that connected those proposed projects with where the community wanted to see improvements. And we got this north-south priority network. And every single line along that network is a project, and all of those are priority projects under the Active 101 plan. Next slide. You can see it a little bit more easily here. It's that orange line north to south, and you'll notice it's not a straight line. Again, we were really focused on those crossings of 101 to enhance opportunities for people traveling east-west. And once we developed this, we wanted to see how it would benefit the community in terms of those 4 key goals of Active 101. So in terms of total miles that would be available for people walking, biking, and rolling, at full build out of this network, we'll have about 42 miles of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure in the county. And approximately 7.5 miles of the high injury network for pedestrians and 6 miles of the high injury network for bikes are included in this network and would be improved through implementation of those projects. We're able to make improvements to 16 of our 25 US 101 crossings, which for people who need to cross east-west in order to get to school, recreation, groceries, medical appointments, etc., really opens up the opportunity of using people-powered modes of transportation to get around. And also gives opportunity for about 50,000 people living within our disadvantaged communities close to 101 to be within a 10-minute walk or 3-minute bike ride of a high-quality facility, which is an impressive improvement over what we have currently. So again, every single one of these little lines on the map that comprise this network is now one of our priority projects under the 101 Corridor Connect program, in addition to the multimodal strategies. Next slide. So now we're at next steps, because as mentioned, all 4 of those planning efforts have now been adopted by our board. So just calling out briefly, within Atherton, you do have one priority project under the 101 Corridor Connect program. So that's the Marsh Road project that's shared jurisdiction or shared responsibility with the county of San Mateo. And we really wanted to see priority projects in every community along this area. And we were really glad that we were able to identify that. So moving forward with the 101 Corridor Connect program, these priority projects like Marsh Road are the ones that we're going to be really focused on helping to move forward. Next slide. And the first way that we're intending to do that is through a new mini grant program that the SMCTA board approved. So they've approved $4 million to start to really jumpstart taking the lines on the map in the multimodal strategies like the Marsh Road project and also in Active 101 and start moving those projects from being lines to actually being designs and then being able to go into construction. Next slide. So this new mini grant program provides funding for any projects that are identified as priority projects in any one of those planning efforts. It's intended to fund the really, really early stages of the project. So feasibility, developing alternatives for your community to consider, doing that initial community engagement to get some feedback on where you want to go. Again, we have $4 million total right now. Our board was interested in possibly making more available, but we have to start somewhere. For individual projects, we can offer up to $750,000 per project. If partners are working together for multi-jurisdictional projects, we can offer up to $1 million. And there's no local match required for this grant program. Staff will be very interested or very happy maybe to hear that the application project process is extremely streamlined as compared to our usual applications. It's a letter of interest, including confirmation of staff availability or the request for technical assistance from the TA. And then more pertinent is if selected for funding, we are requiring that a sidewalk be done of the project area. That must include at least one city council member, and we would encourage committee members to attend as well, if able. And that really gives the opportunity for all of the stakeholders to get out into the project area, see what it's like right now, and why the improvements may be necessary, and what, kind of kickstarts the thinking of what those improvements might look like. Next slide. So we are moving quickly with this. We have been out to all of the city councils and commissions along 101 over the last 2 months or so. We are releasing the call for projects for the mini grant program on June 3rd, which is now next week. And we have those applications due in July. Again, very streamlined application process. And because it's streamlined, we expect to be able to turn around funding decisions by August. Next slide. So some key action items. Talk to your staff and with us about project that you're interested in applying for, and apply to the mini grant program if you're able to. Participate in the sidewalk if selected for that funding. And then one note is that we've recently made available a community-based organization bench, an on-call bench basically, for engagement. So if communities are doing projects where community-based organization input would be helpful for engagement, the TA has CBOs already under contract, and we have funding to pay them to help with that engagement. So it helps local communities have that touchstone and have that opportunity for engagement without adding additional project costs. We are in a pilot of that for this year. We hope to keep it going over the next several years. So that's, if you know of any projects, or if you wanted to chat with staff about that, they can reach out to us for information. And next slide is just my contact information. Happy to take any questions tonight. Feel free to reach out if you have any afterward. And that concludes our presentation.
So what is in plan for the Marsh Road area?
I would defer to your public works director.
We've had a project outlined in our Old Bike and Ped Master Plan to provide a joint use facility for bikes and peds along Marsh Road, basically from Middlefield into the county. The way that this project is structured is all the way down to Bay Road to provide for bicycles and peds. And within Atherton, the initial idea is to put some sort of boardwalk or other route atop the channel, and then link into continue the bike facility so that we can have two-way access pretty much all the way down to 101 through. I think there's a sister project that follows in Menlo Park, carrying from Bay down.
But there's nothing for crossing 101.
I would have to look back. I believe that Menlo Park has identified a project on Marsh for crossing.
Yeah, so
I
the,
believe it's one of our priority projects.
yeah, so like I said, that sister project actually goes all the way to Bayfront Expressway. So it's all the way over 101 to near the park.
Bedwell.
And so Menlo Park has the option of applying for funding to start design for.
The over the channel thing, that's a sharp stop before it gets to Bay Road. It's gonna have to be, there are gonna be lane adjustments.
It hasn't been designed, but conceptually, the way that it looks is that there would be some improvements at the Fair Oaks intersection to get pedestrians over to the existing sidewalk on the other side, and for cyclists to be that are coming, was it westbound? They'd cross over and then be able to come up the channel side.
Mhm.
And then conceptually, there could be a pedestrian walkway similarly along, I guess the south side, along the Lindenwood Wall, getting down to me. That answer your question?
It does, because I've always wondered you know, that empty space above the channel seems so useful. But then it dead ends.
Yeah, well, I mean, it dead ends, I mean, the channel goes from open to a box under the roadway. And that's pretty much right near the Fair Oaks
Yeah.
intersection. And that area is unincorporated county. So that's why I did the joint project.
So the current thought is put a crosswalk at the end of the channel to get onto the north side of Marsh.
There would have to be a crossing because you can't get from one
Right.
side to the other. And how that's controlled is to be determined.
If I could add on, the early stages of planning and design that would be funded by this grant program, usually is intended to identify options. And so you may have 3 options to consider in terms of alignment, and then give community feedback on those options, because that helps staff understand, how to work.
So when fully built out, does this envision the ability to bicycle ride somewhat adjacent to 101 from the southernmost part of the county all the way up to Daly City?
It does if you don't mind zigging and zagging back and forth across 101. It wasn't envisioned to be a bike superhighway, for example, because we really wanted to focus on those crossings that aren't really available right now. But if you're okay with crossing back and forth, then yes.
That'd be great.
Any more questions from committee members or comments? Anyone from the public want to ask a question or comment on this?
I had one question. When you talk about sister cities, Atherton, Menlo Park, sharing the overall San Mateo County plan, they would have the same congruous plan, right? It wouldn't be somewhat for Atherton, and then it's gonna look different when you get to Menlo Park, it's gonna go all the way through and look unified, supposedly.
The idea for cities or towns with joint boundaries to work together on the projects, for example, like just with the county of San Mateo, would be, it may not look exactly the same, but to really work on those connections to make sure that it is a fluid movement. And it may look different aesthetically, but really the idea is so that you can't tell, when you're biking, you can't tell where the boundary is. And the idea is that it would just be a straight connection.
Okay. I think that's it then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item, which is request by Maple Manor residents for installation of permanent only parking to Bell. And the police department that's gonna talk about that. Sure.
All right, good evening, everyone. So thank you for having us here. And so yes, we've had some residents of DeBell reach out. They signed a petition. They were able to send that over to us. And what they were recommending is permit parking there. Would like to get permit parking from 8 to 3, Monday through Friday on their street to try to limit what is Menlo Atherton High School students parking on DeBell throughout the day. We've had officers go out there. We have had people go out there. We've had pictures sent to us, and we have seen the vehicles out partially blocking the roadways where you have to go into oncoming traffic to pass. The difficult part for us on DeBell is there's no signage that says no parking. There's not a lot of curbs, so we can't go after them for blocking the roadway or being too far apart from the curb. So when there is an issue, we are able to go out and we can cite and do those things if we have a violation, but a lot of the vehicles that are parking there, unfortunately, are not committing a violation beyond just being there. And so the chief's been dialoguing this and thinking about this. And while we do understand the desire for the permit parking, what the chief would like to do is similar to what we've done on Toyon, where we would go and we would put up A-frame signs that say no student parking on DeBell. And that works very good on Toyon, and that's what we would like to try as well on DeBell. as kind of a low-level deterrent, and then if that doesn't work, we would start escalating from there.
Saying not to.
Okay. Committee members?
So
Questions?
there was sort of reference to maybe an unintended consequence of requiring permitted parking on the street that may be actually detrimental to the residents. Can you give us more color on
Sure,
that?
and you know, we ran into that a little bit on Maple, where we had, everyone wanted parking permits on Maple. What they didn't realize is if they forgot to put their parking permits up, they were also in violation. And when we're going out there, it can be difficult if there's so many cars, the officers are going through and they're just writing citations for vehicles that don't have permits, some which could be residents. And the unfortunate thing is once a citation is written, we can't take it back. We have electronic tick machines, they automatically link up to the courts. Once that citation is written, it goes to the courts. We cannot rescind a parking citation. So when those residents got those citations, they obviously were not happy with us, but at that point it's out of our hands because the violation was committed by them not having their permits. And so that was really the main thing. It's kind of it's a double-edged sword because yes, it got a lot of people to not park there, the ones that did receive citations, but the fallout from that was there was a good amount of residents that also received citations.
That would also presumably restrict visitors to a resident
Correct, and
on
yeah.
the street as well.
Yes, and if there's parties or other social gatherings or things going on, they would have to come in, get permits, call neighbors, borrow permits, things like that, to then get enough permits for everyone to have those events.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question.
Well, you're not done yet. Any other committee member questions?
Typically goes the council.
I just would have a question that other than parking, is there any sort of vandalism, nuisance to students parking there?
We haven't seen any vandalism, no one's trying to harm anyone or do anything like that. I don't think there's any malice intent to the people parking there. But it can and does cause an issue with the street with cars blocking the roadway because there's not a lot of curb space there. And so a lot of times vehicles are parked out there, and to pass them, you do have to go into oncoming traffic to pass.
But it's not a nuisance per se to have the students themselves parking there.
We haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't gotten complaints of students loitering or causing issues or.
Any other? I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. So when you say the Bell, you mean the entire neighborhood, including Maple Leaf Way?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Because I could just picture no parking on the Bell. Well, here's not the Bell.
We try to close that loophole.
So if that were to happen, how many signs are we talking about that you would have to?
It would be
install?
3, there'd be 1 on each end and then 1 on Maple.
Okay.
And so we could put up those 3 A-frame signs and see what that would look like and see if it's a good deterrent for people not to park there.
We'd have to double check that. I think we've gotten an issue with regards to spacing and facility. And so it may be a lot more frequent than that.
No, I really do want to.
So a lot more signs than that. Okay, all right.
Because on Poyon, we did them at the entrances.
But
And so as people were
that's
passing
the
in. Yeah, and that's what the chief is proposing is
Yeah.
the A-frames.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying if you're going to do permit parking, you're gonna have to have up and down the street.
Correct.
But for the suggestion by the chief, it's just,
Okay. All right.
sorry.
The A-frames are mobile or?
Correct, yes, and they could be put out, they could be removed, and so it'd be something that we would put out during the school year, and then we could remove when the school's not in session.
Okay, any more questions from committee members? We'll open it up to public comment. If you can please come up to the dais, state your name, and you're limited to 3 minutes.
Okay. Oh, man, I can go. I had a time speed issues right now.
Hello, my name is Catherine Keaton. I live on Maple Beach Way, number 11. And if I can. I'd like to give you an overview of the issue, which differs somewhat from Commander Larson's statements to you tonight. Maple Manor was built by Jack Bell in the late 1940s, 1950 as a residential community. It consists of 2 streets, DeBell Drive and Maple Leaf Way. It's doubtful at that time that he envisioned it would become a virtual parking lot for Menlo Atherton students, but that's what it's become, in large part due to 2 factors. The first, MA's failure to address a problem which should not be ours, namely an ongoing student parking issue that because it's failed to attempt additional on-site parking slots, something that this committee addressed when it looked at the library issue. It has not assigned additional parking slots, perhaps based on merit. It has not looked at carpooling. It's not looked at additional parking slots that might be available elsewhere on the campus. It's not looked at parking, perhaps by entering into a lease with SRI, which has lots of empty parking places across the street or at an additional site somewhere else. It's not looked at any solution. And I know that because I spent probably 2-3 hours one day speaking with a whole panoply of vice principals at the MA campus, trying to find who was in charge of transportation. Second, Menlo Park's response to MA's failure and its subsequent effort to protect its residents by posting signs either prohibiting parking or limiting parking on every or virtually every street surrounding Menlo Atherton, and thus funneling parking into Maple Manor. Look at it, every street. It will be argued that to allow signs limiting parking in Maple Manor will lead to a domino effect. In the police department's parlance, that is referred to as a displacement risk. But that's a specious argument, as it fails to consider the fact that Menlo Atherton students are only willing to walk only so far. And the next nearest place that they're going to walk to would be the James Gates on Millfield, or 2 small blocks farther along Oak Grove, Madrone, which has no parking. I went by and checked it just before I came to this meeting. There's no parking on Madrone. It's far too narrow. And then beyond that is Toyon, which has a few spots, but they're very few. And most of them are at the end of the block, which again is too far that they're not willing to walk that far. And I know it because I've spoken with them. It will be emphasized that the only blocks MA students are going to be willing to risk parking on are both in Maple Manor.
Your 3 minutes have allotted, please wrap up your public comment.
I understand, and I'm not close to 3 minutes.
You are, I typed it.
Where else in Atherton are people allowed to park 6 to 7 hours at a time, 5 days a week? This is a far more serious problem than that faced by residents near the National Library or in the area near Menlo College athletics fields. How are Menlo Manor residents to feel safe walking on streets where there's no place on the roadside for them to walk safely? These streets are frequented by inexperienced drivers who are in a hurry to get to school, and the residents are leaving their homes unoccupied with unknown vehicles routinely parked in the vicinity for long periods of time. The police frequently ask residents to be vigilant for potential criminal activity, but these cars pose not actual pedestrian and traffic hazards on roads which are too narrow under the Atherton Municipal Code, which mandates that streets be 22 feet in width when a car is parked on one side of the street, and Maple Manor roads are 16 to 20 feet in width. But criminal events have occurred. A father has had to physically place himself in front of a car, endangering the life of a small child. We all fear for our lives every day as we take the blind curved corner coming into DeBell and are forced over the yellow line into ongoing traffic. I myself have had to pull back many times to let cars pass as vehicles are parked 3 to 4 feet in the roadway. We've had daily incidents of trespass on private property, and that's at 11 DeBell, as well as thefts and possible drug and sexual activity in parked cars. Cars routinely park on vacant private property at 11 DeBell, and contents of packages delivered thereon have been taken. Landscaping has been damaged on multiple properties. Private property destroyed, garbage left behind. Recently, cars have begun to park at the only fire hydrant in Maple Manor, when law requires they be 15 feet from the fire hydrant. Police themselves have told us they're powerless to take any action unless there's legal authorization. They, together with the vice principal who oversees parking, has said they need permit parking. Now they say they want to put up these A-frames. They've even had to revoke parking tickets in front of a house. There were parking tickets were issued. Now they say that they can't do such a thing. At least 5 to 6 residents have
If you could
independently
wrap it up,
contacted the town.
excuse me, if you could wrap it up, that's been over 6 minutes.
Okay, at least
Thank
5
you.
to 6, I only have a few sentences left. At least 5 to 6 residents have independently contacted the town and its police asking for help. I've placed a friendly written request asking students not to park in our resident, but to no avail. Menlo Atherton has told me they cannot get involved, and residents have purchased no parking cones that have been moved by the students. At this time, there's no other option. 23 residents have eagerly signed this petition within a matter of days. We ask that Atherton protect its residents in Maple Manor as Menlo Park is seen fit to protect its citizens and institute permit parking throughout Maple Manor.
Any more public comments?
Oh, somebody else's.
Oh, did you?
I'll wait.
Christine Farrow, my husband and I, we live at 71 DeVille. I just want to speak to the safety issue. Our street is very narrow. It's very curvy. And there has been many occasions I have had come up on a car coming the other direction where I've had to come to an abrupt stop. With these cars there, it's gotten considerably more dangerous. There is no way a fire engine could get down our street with those cars parked. It's very unsafe and we need something. I don't like the idea of permit parking. I think we need a sign that just says no parking from 9 to 1 or 2. I don't understand this permit business at all. It just creates a lot of trouble for everybody.
I have the fortunate opportunity to live at 24 DeBell, and they park in front of our house. They don't park in front of
And your name,
71. They
please.
don't park farther down. They
Excuse me,
park-
your
Your
name,
your name, please, for the record.
Melissa Badger,
Thank you.
24 DeBell. My husband Jim is here. They park in front of number 10, number 24. My neighbor's next door to us, and then a little farther down, and sometimes farther. But the problem occurs the second half of each school year, when the permits run out and the parking permits that on campus aren't available. I've called the school multiple times and not had any return calls. I tracked down the principal, the assistant principal, and gone to the voicemail for specifically designated for parking issues, but not had a return phone call. Not agitated. I've had some actually somewhat pleasant interactions with the students, and I felt a little sorry for them that there aren't enough places for them to park when they finally get the opportunity to drive, but not to the point that I want my boxwood damaged, trash on my land, in front of my house regularly, and in general loitering on our street, which I've witnessed and taken photographs of, but regardless, you don't have time to see photos today. I don't think that there's any malice or negative intent on their part. They're looking for a place to park that's close to the school that they can get to and get to class. We need to come up with a solution that works for us because we live near to the high school and that can still work for the kids. I think that creating a no parking by MA students is sign and trying that out. Does it work on St. Michael's Way? Do we know? In Atherton, next to Menlo High School. It's in Atherton, it's an Atherton address.
We haven't gotten any complaints.
Okay, they use that same system there and it has worked well for them. I talked to friends there. I do see it over at Nativity and I see it at the Episcopal Church. I don't think that any of us want a literal, no, well, I'm not gonna speak for everyone. We don't want a no parking sign that says no parking allowed because we want our friends to be able to park there. So I think we need to find a solution but we've got to do something and we need your help. We need your help. The damage, it might sound minimal. I know landscaping has been run over. Mine's been run over. Our boxwood, it's $200 a plant. I don't want to add up how many I've replaced or how many more I'm going to have to replace. We bought cones, we put the cones out. Some of the girls are really cute about it and they say, well, I'm really not good at parallel parking, ha ha. And I'm like, well then, maybe don't. Like maybe pull forward until there's no other car to park in between, so that you're not backing into my boxway. They've actually said some very nice things. I'm trying to work with them rather than be arbitrarian with them. But the reality is we do need help. We need some kind of a solution, whether it's from 8 AM to 3 PM each day, or whether it's a no MA students parking allowed. I don't know if we need to put it at both ends. They don't seem, I'm sure we do, because if we start saying don't park at the front end, then they'll go the back end. But we are a very narrow street. The gates, which we worked hard to repair and restore, are at least lovelier than they were. And they haven't been hit yet, but they will be, because these kids are not good drivers. So we need to help them and us, the neighbors. The house across the street was sold recently. They had to put up cyclone fencing because the kids were beginning to congregate there and use it as a hangout, because there's no one living there and it's run down. So please, 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 don't set this aside. Don't push it off and act like it's just not that big of a deal, because it really is, and we don't want it to become something where there is vandalism and there is theft and there are other issues. Let's do something now before it escalates to something that we really don't need to have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Todd Yancey. I've lived at 45 DeBell for 14 years. Know most of my neighbors here. It's a special little street. There are two challenges. Not only is it the student parking, but the other issue that I see constantly, including in front of 24 DeBell, the Badger's home, and others, is the parent pickup from MA. So it's not just the student parking, but if you come in to DeBell through Maple Manor gates at Middlefield and DeBell between 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you will see parents lined up waiting for their student to come walk from MA to get in their car. It is the central spot where people get picked up. They also have student parking. That's a problem. Agreed. I live in front of the fire hydrant. It's a problem in front of my home as well. So what I'd like to emphasize, I feel very sympathetic with the Badger family, because oftentimes I'll come in off of Middlefield and I'll see cars on both sides of what is a very narrow entrance into Maple Manor. And there is a curve that goes around, and the Badger home has tried cones. I think you've put in some big boulders now.
No boulders, just cones, big cones.
Yeah, you've tried everything.
Great.
You've tried everything. 14 years, it's been an ongoing issue. There is also the pass through, where what people will do is to bypass getting to the Oak Grove and Middlefield light at the time school exits. They'll go through DeBell as a cross just to go through it, so they don't have to wait in line at Oak Grove and that light. So clearly, from somebody that lives there, I sympathize with my neighbors, and I would say from the police department, it'd be great if you come out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and start getting tickets to people that are just waiting for their students to come pick them up, or give them warnings first and then give them a ticket if it's been the second or third time. So that's what I have to contribute. Agree with all my neighbors.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Please, another one. All right.
There's plenty.
Yeah, sure.
So, I'm Michael Harper. I live at 29 DeBell. And as the former mayor had said, I'm that dad who had to literally pull my child out from being almost hit. And it is scary. And I empathize with, all the trash that's been left. I've empathized with all the plants that have been mowed down. I don't like it. But if somebody kills my child, that's unexcusable. What's happening here is that towards the end of the year, this has gotten progressively worse. More and more students, as they progress through the year, now have the ability with a license. So everyone's excited, I understand. But what is going on there is just awful. It's unacceptable. And it's putting I have a 5 and 6-year-old. I walked them to the Laurel School. It was my dream to move here. And I am playing chicken in the morning, literally chicken. There's a blue Audi with a young student coming through every morning, racing through. And I just finally went out in front of it. I said, stop. My kids were shaking. And it was awful. Now he thinks he's my friend. He waves to me, because I stopped him. This cannot go on. I'm a physician. Dr. Badger's a physician. If any of you ever go to Stanford or Palo Alto Medical Foundation and need to be operated on at the last minute, Jim Badger's going to meet you there. That's who took care of me when I was in the hospital for a week. He's the hardest working doctor I know. He didn't know I was going to say any of this, but he gets up at 5 in the morning and puts the cones out just to protect his house. We all deserve so much better than this. Please. The cars are jacked in there at every which angle, facing the wrong way on the traffic. People are putting their lipstick on. There's this girl every morning. She's trying to do her lipstick while, she's trying to park. These people don't have the experience, and it's not funny. And I don't know what else to do. I've called the school resource officer so many times. I'm in a personal text with him. He says, I don't even know what to tell you anymore, Dr. Harper. Please, I need your help. Because I'm going to end up doing something that's going to protect my kids, and somehow the police are going to take me away for being the bad guy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Koshland, retired university professor and senior administrator. My family's resided at 73 Maple Leaf Way in Maple Manor since 1984, 42 years. 2 of our children attended MA, and in that 10-year span, there was never a parking issue in our neighborhood. And that was until last spring, when a few cars began to park regularly on DeVille. We assumed initially that the students had recently received their licenses, and when fall came, they would get their permits and would go away. Well, we were wrong. The number of cars has more than tripled. I counted at least 12 today. I'm probably underestimating how many, but it was at least 12, and it does go all the way up to the fire hydrant now, which is not where it was even a few weeks ago. Cars are often poorly parked, as others have said. There has been an increased amount of trash along the roadways. Students have pulled onto private property without permission. It appears that MA policies actually encourage this behavior by requiring permits to be purchased by August 31st. They prohibit students from going to their cars at lunchtime. If you'll notice, half the cars or 3/4 of them will actually disappear at lunchtime from the bill, and then they come back because they can access their cars at lunchtime if they're parked off campus. Consequently, we are concerned, as our colleagues have said here, about pedestrian safety, even safety as we're driving our own cars through the neighborhood. We definitely need to do something. I'm agnostic at this point, having heard some comments around the permits. I'm definitely in favor of the signs going up and at least trying that, but we also need support from this community, from the police, to ensure that our community, our neighborhood is the safe place it has been for 40 years prior to last year. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Oscar Wettermark, and I would just like to share my perspective as a student who attends Menlo Atherton High School and who also lives on DeVille Drive. I just like to say that I've witnessed a lot of cases of littering and obstruction of property, and I think that I've seen a lot of cases where students are, obviously they've just received their permit or driver's license and they're driving super fast on 40 DeVille. And as other people have said, it's a very narrow road, and I just think it harms the safety for the residents on DeVille who paid to live in an area where they can live peacefully. But when there's students driving around and not much space open. I think it just harms their safety. And I believe that the police should do something about it. But I also sympathize with the students because Menlo Atherton High School, there's a limited amount. They do a raffle for who gets passes to park at Menlo Atherton, and they don't limit the passes for people who live near, who can walk, or who can bike to school. And they really don't have any other option for places to park. So I sort of sympathize with the students. And it's also, for many of them, it's unaffordable. So yeah, I just think that in this case, the police needs to take action. And I also agree with the opinions that have been shared about the situation regarding parking on Fortyville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pascal Wittermark. I'm his brother. And I'd also like to point out, I've been here for a day almost, and I went to drive to go on a run today, and I come back and all these cars are parked. And there's only one way at that narrow corner to get by, and you're almost just cutting through. You don't know. It's a 50-50 on whether someone's walking their dog or someone's just driving, getting back from practice. Like, we're students, and being concerned for our safety every day is such a concern. My brother, he goes to school every day, 5 days a week, at the peak time, so whenever school starts. And if he's debating every day whether that corner he's going to get hit by a car that's speeding or that's parked in a poor manner, that's not safe for the community, but for all the residents in the neighborhood. I mean, when we walk down that street with our dogs, with our family, we don't want to feel at risk. It's something that's just inherent. That's a right. To feel safe in your own neighborhood is so important. I mean, we walk through our neighborhood, we talk to people, we want to stay there. We want to have good conversations, right? When we're speaking to our neighbors, we want to be able to feel safe and just stand in the street, have a good talk. But we're almost having to walk on the side or get into our driveways to have a reasonable conversation or to have a nice day. So I just wanted to build off of what everyone said in all of their accounts. I think it's a concern for safety, but also it's a concern in the sense that you're getting littering. You're also having students that aren't as concerned for our well-being. And maybe that's a concern that MA should take up. But I do think the signs I don't think that'll work as well because it is such a unique instance because of the shape of the belt drive, but also the views that you get. You can't really see what's going on. And once there is just one car that breaks that rule or breaks the permit or breaks the signs, that's already a problem, right? So it isn't just the general feeling of this, but it's also the individual cases, the outliers where you do get a car parked there. That's a concern in and of itself. So although I'm here very little, I just wanted to point that out. Thank
you. Good evening. I'm Anya Mendelson and I live at 76 DeBell, and it's been for 32 years. I'm going to read my thoughts first and then a neighbor's note because he couldn't attend this evening's meeting. Our neighborhood is in this position because MA lost their overflow parking at the Christian Science Church located at 201 Ravenswood. I believe that the school was paying the church for use of its parking lot, and over time the students trashed their parking lot and they had had enough. I believe the parking at that location ended approximately 3 years ago, and that's when we started seeing cars creeping on to DeBell. This is a note from Mickey Bulmer. He lives at 25 DeBell Drive. He said, the health issues that keep me from attending this meeting also make walking on DeBell and Maple Leaf so important for me. I always walk carefully given that the roads are narrow. They have some blind curves and some drive quite quickly. Crucial for my ability to walk safely is being able to get off the road by stepping into the shoulder. The numerous cars now parked on DeBell during school hours make it very difficult for me to get off of the road. They fill the shoulder, often stick out on the road, and are parked closely. My only option when a car comes is to press up against a parked car. Please implement a parking permit program for DeBell and Maple Leaf. And there's one other thing I wanted to point out. When neighbors point out to the students that they should repark their cars because they've driven over landscape or have caused damage, and this has happened to me. The students reply, "We're late for class," and to F off.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve McAdams, and I live at 83 DeBell Drive. And I'm here to advocate for some kind of parking relief. I personally like the permit parking scheme. I'm a little worried that sandwich boards don't create an enforceable situation. It's just a suggestion, but I don't know. The reasons that I feel this way. The first one is safety. It's been brought up a lot of times. I walk frequently in the neighborhood, and that whole sort of tunnel effect, when there's cars parked down one side and landscaping on the other, and there's a car coming, it's like, where do you go? 15 years ago or so, there was a traffic calming initiative on DeBell where they ended up painting a stripe on that corner because people were like zipping around there and not leaving room in case another car's coming. Well, when that thing is parked up, it's kind of treacherous. So I think that's a big deal walking. I also think it's a big deal driving. My wife has had to slam on her brakes, she says several times, just people all of a sudden appearing, zipping around DeBell. So I think that's a really serious issue. Aesthetics wise is another issue. My wife and I sometimes on our walks will do trash patrol, so we'll bring a bag and clean up, and it's, there's a gradient of trash that starts at the high school, is very high, and as you move out, it gets less and less. Since the parking really started there, I was, wow, I don't know what the heck is people have in their cars, but it seems to spill out a lot. So I think it looks bad. It's gross. I also think that trampling the landscaping along the side of the road, it just kind of brings the whole aesthetic down, and I for one don't like it. So, I think it detracts from kind of our quiet enjoyment of our neighborhood, and we are at DeBell, the closest street with non-regulated parking to the business end of MA. Anywhere around, and so it's kind of an obvious spot, and I think, I hope that we get the same consideration that you guys, and I guess Menlo Park on the other side, have given these other streets, who I imagine have faced the same issues, and are looking to just have some relief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Anna Wettermark. I'm the mom of those two. We're on Port of DeBell. And I have a written statement here, most of which has been covered already. But one additional thing I want to mention is oftentimes when I come driving on Middlefield, heading north toward Redwood City, and I want to turn into DeBell, there would be cars coming in and out and students. And so I get stuck on Middlefield, blocking the cars behind me, and then you have bikers coming on the side of the road. So I feel that is a very unsafe situation as well. But I would imagine coming the other way too, you could have similar issues, but particularly when you're going toward Redwood City and you're trying to turn in and people are moving around the street because it's so narrow, you can't get through there and you get stuck on Middlefield, blocking the way. I leave my public comments with some pictures of the 16 cars that were parked on the street today.
My name is Patty Lewis. I'm president of the Women's Homes Association. I just want to add my voice to my concern about all the parking that's creating an unsafe situation for this very narrow neighborhood road, and also the DeBelle has that blind corner, which is, can create a very dangerous situation if there's not enough space on the roadway. Safety obviously is the most important factor. A minor factor is the fact that Lindenwood Homes Association has spent a great deal of money on reestablishing and renovating the gates for Maple Manor. And when you don't have a resident coming through there, they don't care about the situation with the gates. And we've had many incidences where they've hit the gates and they've been laying on the ground and the bricks are broken. So that's a minor factor to this, but we would like to see, the association would like to see less traffic through this very difficult area.
Thank you. All right, any more comments? People, anybody online?
Not online.
Okay, we'll close the public comments now. And we can debate it. So that,
Do you want to review the options on the table?
review, well, good idea, thank you. Review the options are to go the very simple way and try the signs like they did on Toyon, which seem to be working, which would institute those in the fall when school starts again. There is no parking signs everywhere or permit parking. Any other options that come to mind?
Well, I think enforcement is gonna be based on some sort of ordinance or something, right? So that's an option. Another option, and it sounds like the community's already done this with respect to speaking to the school itself to come up with some reasonable workaround. I mean, if the school had parking at SRI or somewhere, then they lost it and the overflows now in DeBelle. I get it, that's unfortunate, I heard you. But I think continued conversations to sort that out with the school, with PD, and certainly your ideas are reflected. One thought that's potentially unpopular is there's 7 school days left in the year, about a week and a half. So I don't think we're gonna solve this school year, obviously, yeah. So over the course of the summer and the rest of the time, I think that we talked about is, coming up with an idea. The A-frames sound like a great place to start, but I think the conversations to say, look, you gotta solve this at a deeper level. I don't know what, I used to be as creative on the MA high school parking lot as sounds like the kids are today on your street, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
But, they've got to figure out a way to accommodate all of their customers and without being on the burden of the town of Atherton, which Menlo Park seems to have solved. So what to do first? I think that I would say, yeah, the A-frame kind of thing seems to make good sense, but I think there's a bigger solution that has to be uncovered.
I've got a clarifying question. So did Menlo Park institute permit parking only on their streets that were impacted? Can someone describe how they're handling it?
Yeah, it's no parking.
Everywhere.
And where
Is it permit only? Is it?
No,
No,
What is it?
just no parking.
Just no parking, period.
There's a time frame. It's like, actually,
Is it 8 to 3? I don't know, or 9 to 4.
But no parking on the street 7 to 3.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whatever.
weekdays, holidays accepted.
So that's
Yeah,
another option.
it's not a permit.
Got it.
That's another option. So it's
And
permit.
someone had said that was a,
Yes, that's what I said.
okay,
Every street. There's
No
not a
parking.
street that you can find where they
No
don't have no parking.
gardeners, no nannies, no DoorDash, no nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
Can we just ask a quick question of you? The process,
Sure,
to
go
understand
ahead,
the
go ahead.
process. If I think we all know that there's only a week left of school and summer isn't the issue. Fall, we're hoping to have something in place for fall, but we also need to acknowledge that fall is not when the problem starts necessarily. The lining up of the parents, yes, the kids parking is not as much, but if we have that sign, does that mean that our police officers are able to put warnings on cars?
No.
What will happen, and will MA do anything to support that? Can we ask MA to help police that.
No.
I don't know what we're allowed to ask for.
No, MA will not get involved.
MA will not get
No,
involved.
They are not allowed to get involved. They've been, apparently,
Okay.
according to the vice
So-
principal in charge.
Okay, so, but I'm asking the council, the committee here, if we, I want an answer that I can come back to and say, this is what you told us. So I want people to be accountable. If we try the sign, how long do we will need, for us to feel okay about it, a time period to say, how long do we have to wait before we come back to you and say it's not working? Or at what point do you acknowledge it's not working if it isn't? Because if it is, we'll be thrilled. We don't want to create animosity here, but we want the problem solved. The safety is a huge issue. We have a lot of issues. How long do we give that before we know whether it's working?
Well, it sounds like at least to the spring, right? Because so many new drivers that happen in the second half of the school year. So to really sort of stress test if this is gonna work, you wanna get to.
Well,
that
not by
second-
February.
Well, if we were to start, go with the simplest solution, try the A-frames, see if they work in the fall, see if there's an issue in the fall. And maybe if they do work, we continue it and we'll see what happens in the spring. And if the spring, when they're new drivers, the problem reappears, then we need to revisit it.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's on St. Michael's. How are they handling it? I know I've seen a sign before that says no student parking. Is it?
It's a permanent sign too.
It's a permanent sign that says no student parking. That's
No MA students parking. I
I
don't
haven't
like
seen any.
planning.
Commander, do you want to answer that question of how you enforce the A-frames in other neighborhoods?
So the A-frames are enforceable as we can't go out and issue citations or anything like that. So if the A-frames were not to work, then the next step would be to put up some type of signage, whether it's permanent, whether it's no parking, whether it's no parking restricted hours. I think that would be kind of the natural progression of if the A-frames don't
But are you
work,
able
but
to
the
give
A-frames would be the
warnings?
least intrusive to.
Issues
begin
with
with.
anything to
Well,
the
if we
kids.
can, hold on.
Okay.
So that would be the process of try the A-frames. If they don't work, then we come back, revisit it, but you can't do anything unless there are signs.
Correct. If they're committing a actual vehicle code violation, like they're blocking a fire hydrant, they're just parked in the middle of the road, not next to the curb. If there are tangible things that we can enforce on, we've actually done that, and we will do that. It's a matter of finding those things, but if the A-frames were not to work, then yeah, the natural progression, I believe, would be, then we would go to some type of restricted parking, whether it's permit, no parking, or restricting the hours. I think that would be the natural progression.
Excuse me, if I could just ask a question of the committee.
Public comments are closed, please.
Besides the public comment.
If we can just follow the procedure, please.
Why don't you let everyone ask their questions and maybe your question will get answered and.
Well, it's not.
Okay, well, if you
can.
but right now, the public comments are closed, sir.
It's not a public comment.
Okay, a question is
Look,
closed,
I'm
sir.
trying to be nice.
That's fine, and we
But
have
you're
a,
not. You're
we have a
being-
procedure here, and these are the rules of order for all the committee meetings.
Well, you-
And
you just
so
had some questions here.
where
We
does
have
it
questions on your
end?
comments.
Where does it end? Then if everyone wants to make a comment, because if I open up public comment again, everybody has a right to say something. So the public comments are closed for now, sir. Thank you. All right, so is there anything that the police can do talking to MA?
Our SRO is in with the school, and so far I don't think we've gotten much traction with them trying to limit or message the community or anything like that.
Do we have a specific wording for the A-frame signs? Because it sounds like there's more than just student parking, there's also parent parking.
Yeah, and from hearing the community members speaking, I think a good start, we could intentionally, or we could double the signs, because like I agree, we don't want too many words on one sign. Maybe we put them at both ends, two on each side, and one that would say no MA parking or no student parking, and a second one that would say no MA pickup or drop off. It'd be a good idea to.
And just to clarify, none of that is enforceable at this point.
Correct.
Correct, okay. But if we were to, once we have those signs there and a police car went down there occasionally, it might send a message.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
So if we just did no parking signs from whatever the appropriate hours are, from 7 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, or whatever the right hours are. And we started with that, which one could argue is the most extreme measure. In theory, if residents are hugely inconvenienced by their service vehicles or their guests not being able to park, we could always back off of that and then go to A-frames, but start with the most extreme measure, word gets out and the residents.
I would prefer to start with an incremental measure of the A-frames and see if that works, then we have a solution.
It's a low investment, posting signs, limited parking, you talking about dozens in the neighborhood.
And installing poles and paying for the metal and wording.
And most residents don't like the signs. But that could be step 2 or step 3.
I worry that it's not gonna work because it sounds like there's a lot of pressure on the kids to park somewhere. And if somebody finds out that they're not getting ticketed, then it's gonna spread.
And that's my concern, which is why I'm very sympathetic to the residents in this situation. Signs can't be that expensive. Yes, they're no thing of beauty and nobody would particularly want one in front of their house, but it's hard.
But it's worked on Toyon.
It'll be a new school year with presumably those kids that are parking there right now are
Gone.
gonna be have permit parking in it on the property instead of on DeBell.
Question, does Atherton still have, I used to call them decoy squad cars? Could you put one on the bell?
We don't per se have a decoy squad car, but that is something that we could work out where we could put a patrol car out there for a time period.
That, when the signage goes up, maybe a couple of weeks of a couple of days of having that patrol car there?
Yeah, I think we could arrange that.
It also sounds like any parking on DeBell, no matter who's parking there, is dangerous because there's not room to park. So maybe not having parking in a certain section because if somebody parks there, then some going around the corner is dangerous, might be an option as well.
A blended option, yeah.
So we have any proposals?
I propose we take an incremental approach and use all the levers that are persuasive without being as intrusive.
So that would be the A-frame signs.
Signage, no student parking, no student pickup, drop off. Patrol car possibly to assist with that. And find out if it works, and if it doesn't, we up the ante.
If I could ask one more question, it's not a comment.
It's
No,
closed,
okay,
please.
I understand.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Will this come in front of the council or is this the decision ending here, given that it's a A-frame? What happened? Was this that? Did we end?
Good question.
Through the PD, I think that since it's not a regulated enforcement issue, meaning no regulatory signs are going up, I think that it doesn't need to go to council. I think it's something that the chief said that he was willing to purchase the A-frames and supply them.
However, for clarity for both the public and the committee, if we were to go further than the A-frames, that would have to.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for putting the A-frames up and,
Typically, it's a resident that does it.
The resident does it?
Yes.
The sounds of it will have lots of
Yeah, I think we've got some volunteers,
So
right?
do you guys wanna establish a time frame for a check-in? Cause it sounds like it gets worse. February is what I heard the rumbling back here, so maybe create a timeline of. Make sure there's some check-in so that this doesn't just
Sure.
fall
The school
off.
year starts when? Late August?
And it sounds like it's not an issue in the fall, it becomes an
Typically,
issue
it's new
later.
drivers.
That's true.
It
It's-
happens.
it's-
Drop off and pick up is always a problem.
Okay.
You're right.
August 20th at school.
So maybe we can,
So it seems to me we could do a shorter time frame in February. I mean, 60 days seems like a pretty.
Thanksgiving. Or
Yeah, I would say,
60 days after the start of school. If it's not working, we're gonna know by then it's not working.
Okay. Can, Robert, can you put something in the, Commander Larson? You can do something to set the reminder for this.
Sure.
And then, bring it back to, the committee.
And are we still
Report back to the committee in
November?
Or bring it back to the committee by saying, do we meet in November? When
I have to check.
you met November of last year, so I believe so.
But we typically, with Thanksgiving, we typically don't. So it'd be the December meeting.
How about the first meeting after Christmas? We can gauge. and
That
see
might
where we-
be.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that your meeting would be in
Yeah.
if we're
September.
odd months, so September.
It'd be about a month.
And it's, I mean, it'll be end of September,
Okay.
so about a
End of
month or so
September.
to school.
Okay.
It may not be a hard task, though.
No, but we can revisit this every 3 months and
Or
every 2 months.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
I think revisit's gonna come from the input from the folks in this
Yeah.
room, so as it escalates or as it changes, bad or good.
If we're allowed input, the police haven't ticketed cars in the wrong direction. The police
Okay,
haven't-
so if we can stop, please.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to us. If they haven't ticketed cars in the wrong direction, someone almost died today
Ma'am,
walking a
ma'am.
child. Yes, thank you, Mr. Luger.
You're welcome.
You'll wait till someone dies, which almost happened today.
Okay. So have we concluded everything? Okay. That item is closed. We'll move on to the next item, which is review of the Middlefield Road traffic study.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure, I'll give a minute. So that
Yeah,
can-
Yeah, we escorted. Yeah.
All right, Chair, members of the committee, I'm Robert Abadia, Director of Public Works. I'm gonna give a brief introduction and I'm gonna turn it over to Amit Kupari from our consultant team to give a brief presentation. And he'll be available to answer questions with regards to the study. So what we are seeking is that the council review the results of the Middlefield Road traffic signal high-intensity activated crosswalk beacon and rapid rectangular flashing beacon warrant study that was conducted both at the Watkins Avenue intersection and the Fair Oaks Lane Palmer intersection on Middlefield Road. And then provide feedback to staff as appropriate and a recommendation to council with regards to forward actions. So as part of the current year's capital improvement program budget, the city council included an evaluation of traffic control devices at both Middlefield and Watkins, as well as Middlefield, Fair Oaks, Palmer. And we entered into an agreement with TJKM, transportation consultants, to conduct the evaluation. And so as As you all know, Middlefield Road at both of those locations is through without any controls and the side streets are stop control. So Watkins has a stop control at the approach to Middlefield. Traffic backs up rather significantly at that location while people wait for openings to make a left turn or even a right turn out of Middlefield. It's rather constrained. And then the crossing activity to and from the park located there as well. Traffic doesn't always stop for pedestrians. Similarly at Fair Oaks Lane, I don't think we have as much pedestrian traffic there, but coming in and out of Middlefield coming in and out of the side streets during certain hours is a bit of a challenge. So for example, morning commute trying to get from Palmer across to Fair Oaks isn't always easy. And so to address these issues, we asked TJCAM to do an evaluation as to whether or not the intersection warranted a rapid flashing beacon or hawk beacon to make pedestrian crossings easier, or a traffic signal to make mobility easier for all those. And so with that, I'll introduce Amit. He'll go through. Attached to your report was the full study. Don't think you went through, but we did provide some information that was extracted from the report and simplify the data that was collected. And so with that, are you able to show your screen? Sure.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Robert. So I'll spend a few minutes and give you a quick overview. And if you have any questions, I think we'll be spending more time on Q&A. So I'll be going a little fast, but feel free to stop me anytime. So as Robert mentioned, we looked at a couple of intersections along Middlefield, Watkins and Fair Oaks and Lane. And we looked at 3 different options, just like we heard in the previous topic. We wanted to go progressively and see that how can we increase safety for everyone, starting with, can we have rectangular rapid flashing beacon or RRFB? That would be the least expensive and least amount of design and construction required. The next one is HOP, which is high intensity activated crosswalk, more expensive than the first one. And then finally, traffic signals. And I'll quickly walk you through all 3. In the report, you might have seen tons of data pages. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We collected data on Tuesday, March 10th, which was a normal, regular day, good weather, schools are in session, no construction in the vicinity. We looked at all 7 approaches for both intersections. We collected 24-hour counts, and we collected 7-hour counts for AM and PM, and that included bicycle and pedestrian count as well. So here, this is at Watkins. And this is one of the pages in the report, but we blew it up so we can see the numbers. And this is purely focusing on how many pedestrians crossed the intersection. So for example, on the very right, that is the east leg, that would be, and we see the numbers vertically 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. So what it shows is in the PM, pretty much entire day, how many pedestrians crossed Middlefield at Watkins on the east side. So pretty much 0, 0, 0, and then only 1 in the AM crossing from south to north. So that is how the diagram is displayed. But in the entire day, we could see the all 4 approaches, we had less than 10 pedestrians crossed. I'm sorry, 7 hours. We collected 7 hours in the AM and 4 hours in the PM. So in 7 hours, we had less than 10 pedestrians crossing any of the lanes. So that's at Watkins. And here is at Fair Oaks. So here we have 4 legs or 4 approaches. And again, the highest we see is in the AM on the north side. But again, there are less than 15 altogether crossing any of those approaches within those 7 hours. So pedestrian volume is fairly low. Now, what are the RRFPs? So you might have seen this kind of flashers. These kind of flashers are sometimes in front of some retail centers, schools, sometimes mid-block, where there are many pedestrians crossing major street, and they don't have an option to cross in a nearby signal. So these are flashers. These are not traffic signals which require vehicles to stop. This is more to alert the drivers. If they choose to continue, they can. So these are not red lights. So that's the difference between this and the other 2 options that we are going to discuss next. So this one, we looked at the warrants, and when we see warrants, these are the guidelines and justification required by California Department of Transportation, Caltrans. So we go by their manual, and looking at their warrants, it clearly did not meet the warrants. Basically, we didn't have enough number of pedestrians crossing any of those intersections. Next is the Hawk. You might have seen, these are not as common, fairly new, but these are called Hawk. And these are signals which are usually blank unless a pedestrian pushes a button to cross the street. And I wouldn't go through the entire diagram on the right, but it's fairly simple. Go ahead, Robert, did you have?
Just real briefly,
Sure.
I mean. I
This
think
is
that-
what we have at El Camino,
Yeah,
right?
so we
Yes.
have about 3 of these on El Camino. The rapid flashing beacons, we have one here at Fair Oaks Lane and Station Lane at Lloyden Drive. There's a rapid flashing beacon. There's also Glenwood on Middlefield has rapid flashing beacons as well. That's the, yeah, so there.
Excellent, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That helps.
And so I don't think you need to go through the operations of the Hawk Beacon because everybody is.
Although I know a lot of drivers who need that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not us,
but yeah. We just hold a little kiosk out there.
So here again, because the volume of pedestrians crossing at both intersections is so low that the warrants are not met. So unfortunately, the least expensive and the second one, they don't meet the Caltrans warrant. So then we have to look at the third option, which are traffic signals. And I'm gonna display a few slides for Watkins first, and then we'll go to Fair Oaks. So you'll see this, don't worry about the numbers. This is part of the report. But you will see this kind of data sheet. If you're interested, this one shows every hour for 24 hours, how many vehicles passed at every different, in different movements. You will see something like this. This is 15 minutes. If you want to go further, drill down in the data sheets. And then you would see something like this as well. This one shows peak hour volumes. Again, 3 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon. This one shows every single direction at the top. So the top light blue shaded portion is the vehicular traffic. And as we go down on the left side is the vehicles. It says car, AM, known, and PM. On the right side is the heavy trucks. So that's the truck volume. And when we add both, that's what we see on the top side. And in the middle where we see a pedestrian sign on, those are the pedestrians crossing, which we displayed a few slides ago. So just to show that what kind of data was collected at these intersections, there are 9 different warrants for traffic signal. And number 9 was related to railroad crossing. And since we don't have railroad crossing right there, we didn't have to look at that one. But we looked at all 8, and looking at the data that we collected, the first 3 warrants are met, justifying a new traffic signal at Middlefield and Watkins. And I'll share some details on those 3 in a moment. So here.
I'm sorry, can you explain how many warrants need to be met?
Any of those.
Any one of them could be enough. Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So this is important one. A lot of numbers here. The shaded yellow shows that what is the minimum requirement. So for example, both approaches where we see 500 number. So that's 500 vehicles per hour. And where we see the green bar running across, those are the 8 different hours when that 500 vehicles per hour is met. So all of those 8 hours, we have 500 or more vehicles. The second number right after 500 is 400 in parentheses. That is 80%. So we look at both. Does this location meet 100% warrant? Yes or no? And does it meet 80%? Yes and no. So the 500, which is 100%, we don't have a green bar running across. I'm sorry if I said yes, it did. It does not. So that's because we don't have 8 hours where we have 500 plus volume every single hour. So in this case, the 100% warrant is not met. But the second one, which is 400, that row is shown green. That means at 80%, we are meeting that warrant. I can take a pause. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
What are the U's and R's of the name? There's one requirements, U and R.
On the column, so okay, let's see. Oh, urban and rural. Urban and rural.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just one point of clarification. You have to meet both on both approaches, right? Meaning that you have the major street and the minor street, because if you have a major street and not enough traffic on the minor, then you're not going to meet the need for a signal, right? Because there are many streets that have a lot of through traffic, and the need for the signal is really based on the volume of traffic on that through street, but the fact that you have a volume of traffic on the side street.
That is absolutely correct. Thank you, Robert. So that is in fact the case here. So if we see again the first row, which it runs across 500, we have 500 met for that row. But as Robert mentioned, the minor street doesn't have 150 vehicles. If I can come close to the, I can point it easier here. So here, the top one, we are required 500 minimum, so we are meeting 500 across. But at the same time, we have to have 150 here on the minor street. And we see 188 here, 153, yes, but then we fall under 143, 129, 135, and 130. So that's why that is not shaded green, because we don't meet the minimum required. So we have to have both 500 on the top and 150 on the second. We do the same thing with the second one. So this two, this is 80. So when we look at 80%, the top one meets, and that's why it is shaded green. And then for the bottom one, that 80% drops from 150 to 120. And now we have every single one above 120. So what it means is we don't meet at 100%, but we meet at 80%. And that is okay, that is still warranted.
You want to just do the bottom section at the same time? Sure.
And then, so this is the first section is all about how many, it's all about volume. And then the second one is sometimes what happens is the major street has too many vehicles. Minor street may not have as many, but then they are just sitting there waiting for their turn, whether they want to make a left turn, right turn. So this one is more about gaps in the continuous traffic. And that's why the numbers are different. So instead of 500 here, the main street has 750, it's a higher number. And the lower number is 75. So minor street from 150, they went down to 75. That even though minor street has smaller number, the major street has so many vehicles that people cannot make turns. So do we meet there? So at 100%, it's all green. And at 80%, it's all green. So this is called A. As you see the report, this is A and this is B. And same thing here, A and B. So warrant 1 is only meeting for B, 80%. And this one is meeting at both 100% and 80%. So a lot of numbers. I know it could be a little confusing, but feel free to ask any questions and I'm happy to explain. By the way, so that's urban and rural. And you see the number 1 and 2 or more, those are number of lanes in each direction. So if we had a major intersection, 2 lanes east-west and 2 lanes north-south, then we would go 2 and 2. Any question here before I go back?
So it makes sense.
Okay.
Well, I think you've all experienced it when you're trying to approach Middlefield and.
And the top one is what street?
These are, I think, both.
So these are both. So where we see, so these are both approaches major streets. So this is Middlefield and this is Watkins.
Yeah, so this is the Watkins intersection.
This is the Watkins.
Yeah, okay. This is
Then we go
strictly
to Fair Oaks.
So these are all Watkins and so I hate to sound like I don't understand anything, but what's the difference between the two charts then?
I'll try and explain what you went through. So on your first one, the top section, what it's looking at is just straight volumes. Not how easy it is to get through the interstate, get in from the side street, but just based on volumes, how many cars are going on Middlefield, how many cars are trying to come in from Watkins.
Right.
Okay, and so the top line in both, the ones that are white, basically are saying that on Middlefield, you have to have 8 hours of traffic that are more than 500 cars going each way, right? At the same time, on Middlefield, you have to have at least 150 cars trying to come in. On Watkins.
The minor street.
From the minor street, Watkins, tring to get in over 8 hours.
And we don't.
At each hour over 8 hours.
And we don't have that.
There are enough cars on Middlefield during that whole time period.
Yeah.
But there's not enough corresponding vehicles on Watkins trying to come in. Okay, so it says 500 on Watkins during that hour and 500 on Middlefield during that hour and 150 from Watkins. And so what you have there are a few hours where Watkins doesn't meet that number of cars.
Yeah.
Okay, so they say, well, that's the 100% number. They say, well, don't just look at that 100% number, 80% of that number. Okay, so instead of 500 on Watkins, on Middlefield, look at 400. And instead of 150 on Watkins, 120. Okay, during each hour over that 8 hour period. And as we know, Middlefield has that amount of traffic, not a problem. On Watkins, we are exceeding that 120 number for those 8 hours. So you are meeting that warrant. Okay, so based on that 80% number, there's enough traffic from both Watkins and Middlefield to justify.
The bar is at 80%.
Yeah, well, there's 2 bars, right? So you can cross the 80 or you can cross 100. We're meeting the 80. Okay, the second warrant that he was talking about is, now let's look at, well, even with a lower number of traffic, are the cars from the side streets able to get through that intersection? And what this is saying is a higher bar for Middlefield, but a lower bar for Watkins. Okay, and so instead of 500 cars an hour on Middlefield, it raises the threshold to 750. Okay, And then, but it lowers the bar from 150 on Watkins down to 75. So more cars on the main street make it more difficult for that side street traffic to come through. And that's why they lower that bar on that side street. Okay. And so we're exceeding 750 cars an hour all the time on Middlefield Road. And we're exceeding the 75 number on Watkins for those 8 hours as well. So it meets both the 100% and it meets the 80% on that warrant. So those are warrants number 1 and 2.
These are all one. This
Sorry.
is 1A and 1B.
1A and 1B.
1A,
Okay,
yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
No worries.
so there's sufficient volumes on both the Main Street and Minor Street to warrant the traffic signal based on these measures.
Got it.
Okay,
So the bottom graph, the purpose of the bottom graph is,
ease of coming in from that side street.
okay, okay. Which obviously we know is very difficult.
That's the numbers that say.
Yeah, okay.
It's a great difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Summary.
They didn't believe it. There you go. Right.
And sometimes what happens is, let's say if we had 900 vehicles, then we would not meet any of these. But since here is 750, threshold is different. I'm sorry, right now we have very high numbers, but sometimes we may not meet this, but we would meet we would meet the bottom one, 1B.
See if I can. It's a touch screen.
Touch screen, that's why, okay, thank you. Yeah, so that's why it is A and B. Sometimes there are locations where you will not meet A at all. But when you go to the number 2, you will meet the warrants, just because the numbers are low, but the minor street cannot just get into the main street.
Yeah.
So that's why they're split into 1 and 2. One is purely volume and second is the delay.
Yeah.
So next we will go to, this is warrant number 2. And here you see 3 different lines, but we are focusing on the orange one. That applies to this intersection, 1 lane in each direction. Here we are focusing only on 4 hour. And the way the warrant is, you simply pick any 4 hour, the highest number of vehicles for the major street. And for the same 4 hours, anytime during the 24 hours, for the same 4 hours, you would pick the highest volume from the minor street. So minor street could have east and west or north and south. But for the main street 4 hours, you pick the highest from the minor street. So here what we have is at 4 different hours, we are meeting the warrant because they all fall above the graph. If one of the 4, if we had only 3, then we are not meeting. But all 4 are above the orange line.
And they don't have to be consecutive hours.
If they don't have it. So this is warrant 2, and again, we meet warrant 2 for this location. And then I'll go through warrant 3. Same here, now this is only 1 hour. So peak hour vehicular volume. On the x-axis is the major street, and on the y is the minor street highest volume approach. And again, we are looking at just 1 hour in the entire day. So at 3 p.m. Is the highest volume on the major street, and for the same hour, the highest on the minor street, and that point is above the line. So again, warrant 3 is met as well. So these are 3 warrants for the first intersection. Now we'll go to Fair Oaks. This is the same similar diagram which captures everything. And then this is a summary. Again, we looked at all 8 warrants. The first, second, and third are met, but 4 through 8 are not met. And it's pretty much similar numbers and what is met and what is not met. So again, here, the 100% is not met. The 80% is met. And the only difference is in the 1B, the lower table, only 80% is met, not 100% like Watkins. Watkins does have higher volume compared to Fair Oaks.
How did you determine the 8 hours to use
So we picked the highest data
for both
for the entire day.
approaches?
Yeah, so first we decide first the major street. So here, the major street had highest volume at 8, 10, noon, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
And for the same hours, we plug in the minor street. So for example, if minor street had a higher volume at 9 a.m., we don't count that.
Yeah, so that's my
Because
question.
we start with the major first, and then for the same hours, you plug in the minor number. Second warrant, same thing, all 4 hours, they are above the orange line. And that's why warrant 2 is also met. And then warrant 3, which is for just 1 hour, again 3 p.m. is the highest volume. And that warrant is also met. So that's kind of end of our warrant analysis. We didn't go through 4 through 8 because since the volumes are so low, pedestrian volume are low. There are other warrants which are not applicable here.
One of the warrants said something about 1,000 feet from another intersection.
Yeah, that's right. So that's one of those, but that is again not met.
And the 2 intersections
The
are
2 intersections
that
are
close?
close,
Really
so.
close.
Let's see here. The Watkins is located between Marsh and Encinal, and I think it's closer than 1,000 feet to the Marsh intersection. And then what's the,
650 for the other one,
what's that?
650 feet.
Yeah, so the signals aren't, like I said, the intersection is closer than 1,000 feet, so you can't say that it meets the 1,000-foot warrant.
Right, so, but it's
asking
Middlefield
you-
traffic backs up past those intersections. So by putting in, I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer.
Oh,
I
it is.
imagine that putting in signals and those intersections is just gonna make the gridlock worse.
Okay, so I think it's about a coordinated signal system. So we don't have we have them timed, but they're not.
They're not coordinated.
What's that?
They are not coordinated.
Yeah, so I guess that's the issue, is that they're not. We have all of the signals timed to work consecutively to help traffic flow. But they're not coordinated in the manner that they talk to each other.
So if we installed 2 new lights, would they need to be coordinated? Because they're all
Yes.
close to each other?
Correct. So
Okay.
that would be part of the design, when we start looking at designing the signals and then coming up with signal timing and coordination. That's the analysis we do there.
So what are the cost implications of going to coordinated versus time? Is it substantially more?
There are different options, but that coordination means that there's some sort of communication system between the signals.
Understood.
And so we have an opportunity to tap into, I guess it's now Race Communications for a fiber connection, to have them communicate. We do need to tie them into the Smart Corridor program, which runs along Middlefield. And then the other way is like cell communication or other, yeah. And right now what we have is basically like a GPS clock on each one. And so that they are timed based on the time of day and that kind of information.
And would it be substantially more expensive to move to coordinated connected?
it would be more expensive. I don't know how much, and that would be evaluated during the design process.
The benefit is, it is demand based. The time is pretty much timed.
Independent if it's
Independent of
low
the
traffic
demand.
or high traffic. Otherwise, it's vehicle presence aware.
Yeah.
Who would be in charge of that system? Is that Atherton that's overseeing the coordination, or is that because it's Middlefield? Is that?
No,
some
well,
other
Middlefield is a town.
Right.
And so we are responsible to maintain the signals on Middlefield. Up through, I think, Oak Grove.
So the
Um,
managing of the coordination system, someone in Atherton would be able to like tinker? Or,
We don't have
Someone has,
anybody
like, a
on
dial.
staff that is that well versed at this point. That being said.
sounds
we-
fun, like,
Yeah, I mean,
just like a lever that you're just.
Right, did you see what happens?
No, so the idea is that it's automated. And so like even now, there's a vehicle detection system on the signals that we do have. And, you know, when somebody hits the pet push button, it alerts the signal. I think what's being asked is, there's a timing program that's currently in each of the signals. And they're coordinated. The question is about tweaking and adjusting signal timing. We would have to rely on folks like Amit here that do signal timing analysis and can reprogram the signal. You say, I'm not well versed. Gabriella here is not well versed in the intricacies of traffic signal timing patterns. That answers, I think that answers your question. But that being said, if we were to implement one of these, we'd start out with a certain timing plan and review that within 3 months and 6 months to see how well it's operating. And see what adjustments are needed to be made. And that adjustment wouldn't solely may impact more than just that one signal, because again, the whole corridor works together.
I was gonna say, in theory, you would want all of them interconnected to optimize for flow, wouldn't you? Yes.
Ideally.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much phase 8 March and then continue for the east. At least 2-3 signals on both sides.
Got it. So do we have any more questions for the staff?
So I should have known this. I did read all the material. This is an FYI only session.
No, we are actually asking for input and feedback, as well as a potential recommendation to the city council. And so, the analysis, I mean, the recommendation can be a number of things. One is, thanks for the information. Don't think you need to do anything. That's option one. Option two is, after the discussion, whether or not the town should continue moving forward in designing and eventually implementation of one or more of the signals that we're studying. The other options that we looked at, the rapid flashing beacons and the hawk beacons, the warrants aren't met. They wouldn't be effective in doing what needs to be done at the intersections.
Not only that, this is mostly a vehicular issue. It's not a pedestrian issue, right?
It's not easy. During those hours of time, it's not easy to cross. I'm gonna say, there's not that many pedestrians, but it's not easy to cross.
What pedestrian is trying to cross Middlefield at Watkins? Like, that's.
No,
What I do is I avoid that crosswalk and I just run along the road until there's a gap and then I dash across. So I don't use it.
But if you went with the controlled light, it automatically solves, the more drastic approach. It automatically solves the pedestrian
Yeah,
problem.
there might be more.
In addition to, okay.
So we really have like 4 issues. Pedestrian crossing at each of the intersections, traffic signals at each of the intersections. So to me, it seems like at this point, since the warrants weren't met for pedestrian crossings at either of the intersections, that's we don't need to consider that if everybody agrees with that.
The two lower level options
Yes.
It doesn't
aren't
solve
really
the
on the
other
table.
Right,
issue of
but
the-
then it comes down to, the traffic signals, and we can consider each of those separately, Watkins and Fair Oaks, whether we think they should have a traffic signal.
Can I put forth an opinion? Watkins seems,
So can I-
Watkins seems like,
Watkins
yes.
seems like a no-brainer.
So through the chair.
Yes,
sorry.
If the questions are done, you may want to open for public comment
Yes.
before going into conversation.
Do we have anybody online, Michael?
Nope.
All right, there's no, I looked around and
I'll
he's
do
staff,
one
isn't
public
he?
comment?
Yeah, do it.
Yes, you can.
This is your time.
I agree with the pedestrian.
You gotta
Oh, I
do the
gotta go.
routine.
Just a small.
There could be a conflict of interest there.
Patty Lugers, just one small comment of what you were discussing. I agree that the pedestrian count was really low, but I've been there twice when pedestrians have been caught crossing. That,
At which
and
intersection?
Watkins. On Middlefield. So there is a little bit of an issue in that. But I would say that definitely a traffic light, if it can be managed, the coordination can be managed. It would be great. The only thing I wasn't Stacy or Emma were saying that, well, I've been there several times where the traffic from the light goes all the way down to the Linden Gate or farther. I mean, I'm not Linden Gate, the James Gate or even farther, Incinel. And I mean, it's backed up, so I don't know how.
It's easy to cross that.
I don't know how to do it.
It's actually one of the times that you can get out of James at the wrong time of day is when it's backed up and people actually obey the do not block.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we'll close public comments. That was it.
Since the public just spoke.
So I'll go back to Watkins, to me seems like a no-brainer
Yeah.
Yeah, for a traffic signal.
for a traffic signal.
Okay. So I have greater sort of belief that there will be, if we build it, they will come in the rapid flashing thing at Watkins and Middlefield, that more pedestrians will use that intersection. A greater belief that that will happen than a traffic signal will be managed and choreographed with the one 200 feet to the north and any of the others along that Middlefield. I think that's.
I want to restate what I think you just said, which was your concern is if we put it in a stop light, you don't think we will execute the coordination well with the closest other light.
Correct.
And it will make traffic worse rather than.
Potential.
Okay.
And I think that the pedestrians, while the numbers are low, I believe, I guess I'm not believing the numbers. I believe those numbers are real, but I think that there would be more pedestrians. And then finally on that, to get here and to get to Holbrook Palmer Park, right? I mean, I'd like to see that there's a safer access from that side of town to the park as well as to here.
It's possible that the pedestrians are at different times in the high traffic because the pedestrians know that the high traffic is hard to cross, and
Yeah.
I was also very shocked. I was like, I've seen 3 people crossing in the evening at Watkins and Middlefield on a regular day at the same time.
So would a traffic light include a crosswalk?
Yeah.
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 Well,
Right.
there is a crosswalk. It's a matter of,
So
it would
controls.
include controls of
Yeah,
that.
okay.
So
Go ahead.
his concern. Can you ally his concern that if indeed we put a light in, there would be no coordination issues at all and it wouldn't exacerbate the traffic problem? Or no, that.
So I would say that as we go through the design process, there's going to be traffic modeling and coordination analyses that will be able to help see what traffic would look like as that signal is put in. And I believe that there's visualization tools, Synchro or something else that would kind of show you how those operations would work as the vehicles come into the intersection.
Okay, I'd be interested in seeing that. And we're thinking also a traffic light at Fair Oaks and Middlefield.
Well, let's stick to one at a
So
time.
I'm gonna say that both meet. There's the question of which one is, if we're, I mean, should we move forward with one or both? And this one is more important than the other. And so if the recommendation is to continue doing the analysis for, to move forward with the design for the middle field. And conceivably in that analysis, we can look at with and without Palmer, Fair Oaks, to see how visually that works. And then we can revisit if the recommendation is such that we can revisit moving forward with Palmer after.
Okay, so in terms of the exploration, I get that, that's helpful. The concern that just kind of crept in is, let's say we solve for improving traffic flow at Watkins and Middlefield, which is great. So if you're coming north on El Camino or south and you're turning on Watkins, somehow the navigation tools all wanted me to go from Stockbridge to Watkins to Marsh to get to 101 to get to the airport. So I've always thought that was weird. But let's say that we create some efficiency at the intersection where it's needed, Watkins and Middlefield. What does that do to the rest of Watkins? Because if that becomes a very efficient thoroughfare, then I feel like we're adding some volume on that section between El Camino and the tracks is
that is also getting additional speed humps, isn't it, Watkins? Isn't that the plan, that it's getting additional speed humps?
There's a proposal to move the one that's there now and put 2 in, but we haven't gotten, the chief was gonna do outreach to the neighbors, and that hasn't happened yet.
Because the neighbors requested additional speed humps.
for the traffic that's already there now.
Yes.
And if we make it a more
And the
efficient thoroughfare.
Traffic is
then
already at a minimum of people who know and can avoid Watkins and Middlefield at the right, wrong times of day. It is naturally being throttled. I avoid, if it's 3 o'clock or later in the afternoon, I do not go up Watkins. It's pointless. Even turning right doesn't make any
No,
difference.
I mean, turning right is backed up from the people that are trying to turn.
Trying to turn left.
Yeah,
So you're
that's
stuck
the
there,
point.
you're
Yeah.
stuck there.
Which way is up?
So-
Middlefield?
In Lindenwood, I take James. Watkins would be a right turn, left turn on James if I'm coming from El Camino.
Coming down Watkins to Middlefield.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's-
so,
people are very
let's do a vote on, do we want to recommend traffic signal at Watkins?
Well, we're recommending the exploration of a traffic signal in the overall Middlefield plan, right?
I think we need to just
Well,
kind
I
of break it
think,
down
I
into each
mean,
one.
if the recommendation is to put in the signal, then the first step is that design component that includes that full traffic, I'm gonna say, operational analysis of the signal.
Well, Mr. Obadi is
Would that
personal assurances
operational-
that he won't screw it up.
Would that operational analysis include increased traffic on Watkins? Because all of a sudden Watkins is a decent option.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. It should.
I mean, we can try and can we try and
Yeah.
something? Okay.
Okay.
So you're
that's the same
personally
thing.
guaranteeing. You're personally guaranteeing. That's what I'm hearing.
And that may reduce traffic on Fair Oaks. But who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
So what I would say is that the feedback to staff is please include this, this, and this in the analysis of the signal, and we would have that to bring, I would say that the next steps would be this goes to council. Council is either going to say move forward with the design of it or not, and include whatever it is that we need to include in that. We would then seek a proposal for those design services and traffic analysis that goes along with it.
Okay.
And then before we move forward with anything, you'll get another presentation like this that shows this is what it would look like.
I have the feeling that we should also look at what $10 a gallon gas will do to the whole problem as well.
That's fine. Let's not go there.
Yeah. So it sounds like we need a motion to approve further exploration of lights, with maybe a thumb on the scale for Watkins.
Let's do it separately and just say, make a motion to, or can I make a motion?
Yeah, you can.
I make a motion that we approve the Watkins Middlefield light to explore that more. Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can go to,
I am not saying anything.
She's abstaining.
you're abstaining?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can go to Fair Oaks. And what do we want to do about Fair Oaks?
I find Fair personally more tricky than the Watkins intersection. Just because there's so many people coming off of Marsh and then turning left and then turning left and then turning left, and then there's people behind them going this one you can't see, and
There's an odd bend for sure.
yeah.
If you're on Fair Oaks looking to turn in either direction, you don't have good sight lines.
Yeah. It's I
Not
find it
without
trickier.
sticking out a long ways.
It's very true.
And then I just feel bad for the people on Palmer. They just sit there and sit there and sit there while the Fair Oaks people just.
I think it deserves study as well. I don't know whether we want to go so far as to recommend actually putting in a light, but I think it should be explored further.
Okay, make a motion for that.
I move that we recommend further exploration of a light at Fair Oaks and Palmer.
It'll be interesting I'll second. It'll be interesting to see how they coordinate such short distances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not challenging the motion.
Yeah.
What additionally will we learn with further exploration? That's not a skeptical question.
Simulation.
Yeah.
So
Simulation, okay.
Let's see whether it's gonna make things worse rather than better. If you have, 4 lights within half a mile, from, yeah. and then-
That's my other point. They essentially have to be coordinated. Have to be. It's not an option. I mean, in my view, because otherwise you're gonna create just a big.
So I guess,
cluster.
hopefully that this simulation, they can come up and say, well, this just doesn't make sense. Or it does make sense, because it's just not gonna
Good.
work.
So you made a motion.
I did.
Did
I
anybody
second
second
it,
it?
yeah.
You seconded it.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we pass that.
on board with that?
So,
That one, yeah.
So do you need more information, Robert?
Well, I'd say if there's particular things that you want to see, and so the items that I heard were the visual simulation and then some sort of upped traffic on Watkins to include in that analysis.
mhm.
Right.
Will
right.
putting a light there
Will it
result in increased traffic? That's the argument the Selby Lane people have against putting a light at Selby Lane and ECR. They're, among their many points is if they do that, it's gonna be a funnel. And that's part of the reason they don't want it, is their belief, founded or ill-founded, that it's more people are gonna move over to Selby.
To
I
take
don't
the
know.
protected turn.
They think, for example, people on Stockbridge, with the benefit of a stoplight at Selby, they'll go from Stockbridge ECR and they'll go, never mind, that's too dicey, I'll go over to
Selby.
Selby and.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
know
gonna,
people
their
do that.
theory is it's gonna increase traffic on
Yeah.
Selby.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
Selby
Civic-
becomes safer than Stockbridge.
I have a question for data to include in this. A lot of this is the, like, mapping softwares are directing traffic to walk-ins over Fair Oaks, et cetera. It is my understanding that the mapping software prioritizes intersections that do not. And that's why walk-ins is more in favor versus turning on Fair Oaks from El Camino. So I don't know if that is true. But I'm wondering if in this study, there's someone that knows the answer to how those softwares approach lights versus non-lights.
Well,
Right turns
yeah, I
versus
would think
left
that
turns.
they,
All of it.
that would be in their knowledge base, that they're gonna know whether it's gonna increase
Yeah,
traffic.
on
My
that.
husband does work for Apple Maps, so I know something about something, but I don't know about traffic modeling.
If I may answer to Chair, that's true. Sometimes it does work that way. Many times, whether it's Google Maps or anything else, it would look at the shortest time, not the distance. So if there are less number of traffic control devices, stop signs, signals along minor street, then the speed limit could be 25 miles per hour. Compared to major street where it could be 30, 35. So many times sometimes they would show route A 32 minutes, route B 34 minutes. Difference is only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But one could have many more stop signs. The length could be different. So most of them go by the time. And arterials, freeways, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But it's good to see which one has more local streets where it may
It's
have
been
stop
my
and go.
experience driving around San Francisco, when my wife is glued to Google Maps saying, you're gonna come to a T intersection with a stop sign. I'm saying, please don't make me do that. Because you can get hung up for who knows how long. And the algorithm doesn't really know.
They're not gonna tell us here. Okay, so anything else you want included in this? Any more information for Robert to put in there? So are we, just as an aside, is this also gonna be, there's a meeting on June 4th? The joint, that's gonna be the good meeting.
The June 4th meeting is gonna focus on the active transportation plan that was presented to you all. And so you'll be going through that with the city council. That's gonna be the primary focus of the conversation. This information will be flowing to the city council after that.
Okay.
Separately.
Okay.
Right, so I mean, there's more than enough to talk about with the active transportation plan.
Yeah.
And the various recommendations that came through with that. And so that's where your focus of time is gonna be in that meeting. If there's any additional messaging that you want to the council related to this item, now's the time to tell us. Because we're gonna include some of this in the staff report to the city council as we bring it forward.
So we've got all that you've got down there that we are really interested in modeling and how all the addition of lights is going.
Yeah, and it would be successive, one by itself, and then what the impacts of that secondary one would be.
Okay. Everybody happy with that? Okay, and then we're down to the last item, committee and staff reports.
Nothing to report, nothing out of the usual, business as usual.
All right, so, is that it? I think that's it. We have a motion to adjourn?
So motioned.
Seconded.
So for our joint